All right, now, big news. You guys have all heard this. Carrier 411. Freight guards are forever. They're diamonds now. Aleks Bates, Dan Artaev, co-founders at Carrier Defender, coming over at the perfect time. Guys, how are you? First of all, Aleks, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Aleks Bates. I currently work for PGT Northside. It's a brokerage based out of Pittsburgh, and I'm also one of the co-founders of Carrier Defender, a reputation management company with co-founders Sean Matthews and Dan Artaev.
Well, hey, congratulations on launching the new startup. You guys have only been out for a couple weeks, couple months now, but there's already this big issue that falls right in your crosshairs. Dan, how about you? Introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dan Artaev. I'm an attorney here in Metro Detroit, and I've done all kinds of things, commercial litigation and business background. And since I started my own firm in 2020, one of the issues I've focused on is helping carriers defend their reputation online, including against false freight guards. And earlier this year, I got together with Aleks and Sean, and we have been working together to design a Carrier Defender platform, a solution that's an alternative to litigation to help carriers with all kinds of issues, including their reputation management online, which of course involves freight guard reports.
Absolutely. Like, Aleks, I've heard you talk about this, and you're like, look, we're coming up with a solution to help protect carrier identity. There are a lot of things that are abused, like freight guards, to smear carriers, and a lot of times they are issued for unreasonable things. They're used to get revenge or to get back at somebody. And then once the conflict is resolved, usually what in the past what would happen is you could go in and you could delete it and remove it. Now that has changed, right? Now if someone smears your company, they put it on there just because they're having a bad afternoon, it's stuck there forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to change the landscape of how carriers do business. Ultimately, I think it's going to do more harm than good in the long run. People have made the counterpoints of the good that it can do, protecting brokers, from being threatened by, bad actors and coming after them for placing reports. However, I think, like I said, it's going to do more harm than good in the long run, because if you bump into a broker who maybe spilled coffee on his shoes this morning, and he files a freight guard on your company, then I guess that's kind of going to be the end of, you having a clean MC at that point. So, I mean, I lived all of these situations, false freight guards, false late fees, just running into brokers that did bad business on the carrier side where I started my career. And I always knew I was going to do something to help carriers with their reputation and managing staying on the road and having clean MCs. And unfortunately, I bumped into Dan and Sean, and Dan with the legal side of things. We've been able to kind of get together and defend carriers. And that's the thing. We're not just doing freight guards. We're not just dealing with certain things. It's reputation management as a whole. But with this news, obviously, it's very fresh. We all need to look into, how to deal with. Freight guards are permanent now. It's tough to delete them.
Aleks, what are your initial thoughts on dealing with that? What if people are reaching out to you, they're telling you this news dropped, what are you advising back?
I mean, honestly, I'm telling carriers and a lot of my friends, just be really careful. We're obviously going to start getting into the business of freight guard prevention and starting to educate carriers on how to prevent freight guards. Because now in this situation, if you get a freight guard, there's not much you can do about it, right? So we're still trying to deal with the news and processing, ways to deal with it. But my big thing at this point is just freight guard prevention and doing a good job, doing a clean business, and just trying to avoid the situation altogether.
Now, Dan, you're a lawyer, so you bring some of that legal know-how into protecting reputation. What does that side look like? What does the legal side of this look like if someone is, would we use the same term like defaming or slandering? I mean, how does that work in this space when you're fighting back and saying, hey, this is completely wrong?
Yeah, so whenever somebody goes online and posts a statement that's false, so for example, in the freight guard context, somebody goes out and says, hey, this guy's a double broker, and that statement is false, that constitutes defamation, and that's illegal, and that's a tort. You can sue somebody for that. And there have been companies that have gotten into disputes over false freight guard reports. And there have been lawsuits, and there have been six-figure verdicts against brokers who have posted false information on Carrier 411. Now, the fact that Carrier 411 is making these postings permanent raises a lot of legal questions and concerns, not only for the carriers, but also for the brokers that use the platform. I represent brokers as well, and immediately after this news came out, I issued a legal alert on LinkedIn and said, look, everybody right now needs to stop what they're doing and reevaluate their systems in place for how they decide to put freight guards on people. Because look, right now, your liability is uncapped. It's forever. And, litigation is almost inevitable in the context of a false freight guard. There's no way to undo it if somebody's having a bad day.
Well, that was my next question. So, given that they're permanent, there's going to be more lawyers looking at this. Who is liable here if they're writing the freight guard? I imagine it would be the broker, right, or whoever is doing the defaming.
Yeah.
Does this open 411 to more carrier 411 to more liability as well? And also, if you're one of those brokers thinking about posting freight guards, now do you got to make sure you've got everything in a row and be very cautious about how you approach it?
That's absolutely the case right now. I think I've always advised brokers to have a very strict process in place before anybody posts a freight guard on behalf of your company, let alone anything to social media on behalf of a company should go through a vetting process and a system within a company. But getting back to the litigation, what it's going to look like, in my opinion, right now, because there's no way to take down a freight guard by just targeting the speaker or the broker who makes the posting, I think Carrier 411 is going to be named in a lot more lawsuits as what is called a necessary and indispensable party, meaning that if the harm is coming from a posting, the freight guard, there needs to be an injunction obtained against Carrier 411 now to get them to take this down, since the broker can't just go in and delete it voluntarily. I think it's going to make the litigation a lot more complicated and almost more frequent than whereas in other situations, it's a problem that could have been resolved informally.
Yeah, no doubt. And good advice over there. Now, Aleks, company is relatively new, but what other ways are you defending carriers right now? Some of our listeners are thinking of, hey, let's give them a try. I know this new freight card thing. What other services you're offering to help right now, and what are the problems?
Yeah, so like you said, we are relatively new. We did go through a rigorous process where we were going for a few months doing some case studies and seeing what we can accomplish, what we maybe can't accomplish, and fine-tuning things. We are still in a working process to get through stuff like bad late fees, chasing people down when they don't want to pay layovers, stuff like this. At the moment, we don't have a list of services that we're offering formally. But as I said, internally, we are working on stuff, just reputation management across different platforms, anything to do with a carrier being stopped from booking freight on load boards, basically. So any kind of reports, any kind of comments, any kind of things that the carrier might have been treated poorly or not fairly, and it's, inhibiting their ability to book spot freight. That's the kind of stuff we want to deal with. And as I said, with the changes to the 401 platform, we do need a little bit of time to understand, what we need to do and how we can do it, and also to branch out to the other services that we do want to get to. We just want to make sure that that's ready when we roll it out.
No, yeah, I hear you. First thing you got to do is spread awareness. It's like I tell people all the time that, yeah, we move things from point A to point B, but most importantly, it's a communication business. It's communication and hopefully a prevention business. And it's also a business where we constantly have to fix things that just effed up. Now, Aleks, people who want to learn more about Carrier Defender, where do I send them to?
Send them over to our LinkedIn page. It's just Carrier Defender on LinkedIn. That's about all the pages that we have. We also have our website. It's carrierdefender.com. And like I said, we are obviously internally working to push out some more services and features as soon as possible. But we, again, want to make sure that when we do it, that we're ready to handle those cases when they come across our desk.
Hey guys, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing the growth of Carrier Defender. And Aleks, when you get a little further down the road, reach back out and we'll see the progress that you made and what you're fighting against. And hopefully we know a little bit more about progress we're making against these permanent freight guards. But gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by today.